It's most famous movie quotes of all time, and everyone immediately associates it with the character Tarzan. But it is wrong. The sentence has never been spoken by Tarzan. After all, in Legend of Tarzan, he comes to the first time. Me Tarzan, you Jane. This quote has gotten stuck in the brains of many movie fans, but if you ask where Tarzan says that phrase, you get silence or different answers. There are then people who are convinced that the sentence in the classic Tarzan, the Ape Man, was presented with Johnny Weissmuller, which is so even wrong in the plot in the Wikipedia and the DVD announcement of the film. Others believe that Gordon Scott, the second famous and longtime Tarzan actor in film history, spoke the words in part of his film series. But both are wrong. These words were never spoken of by Tarzan, not even in the novel by Edgar Rice Burroughs, in which Tarzan is no wild jungle dweller anyway, but very educated and has a large vocabulary in different languages. The first Tarzan film with the famous saying is thus only The Legend of Tarzan, with Alexander Skarsgård, staged in 2016 by director David Yates' Fantastic Beasts series. But even this does not say the words. These come from Samuel L. Jackson's figure and are a deliberate allusion to the legend of the famous false quote. Only since Legend of Tarzan is Ich Tarzan, du Jane in the German version, or Me Tarzan, you Jane in the English original version, really a real movie quote. But how did it happen that a quote burned into our memory? That it did not exist until 2016. The history behind the false quote. The reason for this is probably a scene in Tarzan, the Ape Man. In the classic Tarzan, Johnny Weissmuller and Jane, Maureen O'Sullivan, whom he has kidnapped, are on a tree where a big monkey scares her. Tarzan takes her in his arms and chases away his monkey friend. Both come close for the first time, and Jane realizes that she does not have to be afraid of him as before. She thanks and tries to communicate with him. It relaxes a wonderful dialogue in which Jane tries to explain to the wild Tarzan that she means me, with you means him. But it is the other way round for him. Me. This is me only for myself, and for you I am you, she says among other things, until you realize that this is far too complicated for her counterpart. Therefore, Jane then changes to name. She explains to Tarzan that her name is Jane, and at some point he understands it, pats his chest and says his name, Tarzan. Then he is so excited about his discovery that he keeps pointing at her and saying, Jane, then pointing at himself and saying, Tarzan. In his whole endless Jane, Tarzan monologue, which is interrupted only when she cannot take it anymore, the sentence, Ich Tarzan, du Jane, in front. Dr. Weissmuller carefully worked for the legend. It was probably Johnny Weissmuller himself that was guilty of this exact wrong quote. The star, born as Johann Peter Weissmuller in Austria-Hungary at that time, already emigrated as a baby with his parents to the USA. Declared shortly after the release of the film interview his transformation from athlete to actor. Weissmuller, the first person to swim 100 meters in under a minute, joked to a reporter that the change was not such a big jump. I did not have to act, I just said, me Tarzan, you Jane. From there was the wrong quote in the world and was also carried on. The five-time Olympic champion was married from 1933 to 1939 with Lupe Vélez. The Mexican actress, singer, dancer and comedian was what was today referred to as an IT girl and society star. It dominated the headlines of the gossip press, and above all their relationship with Weissmuller was the subject of continuous reporting, also because both very often and very loudly argued and gave the press so powerful food. After her divorce, Vélez took advantage of the wrong quote. In the biography, The Life and Career of Hollywood's Mexican Spitfire, is the anecdote of an encounter with a reporter. He asked her why her English is still so bad after all these years. Her quick-witted and unruly answer, I was married to the guy who could only say, I Tarzan. Eugene. Famous film quotes. Famous. There are many more famous movie quotes that actually do not exist that way. One of the best known is Luke, I am your father. Darth Vader takes both in the German and in the original version of Das. Famous film quotes. Famous. There are many more famous movie quotes that actually do not exist that way. One of the most famous is, Luke, I am your father. Darth Vader does not even mention his son's name in both the German and the original version of The Empire Strikes Back. Upon it, no, in response to Luke's allegation that Obi-Wan told him that Vader killed his father, here's just, I'm your father, correctly. This quote means, no, I am your father, or just, I am your father. Another example is, of course, the most famous pure German wrong quote, look into my eyes, little one, from Casablanca. For one thing, Humphrey Bogart says Rick in the German version, I look you in the eyes, little one, and not, look. But there is also this statement is cult only in Germany, and romantic only in Germany. Namely, one has deliberately changed the sense here in the synchronization. In the original English version, Bogart says the words, here's looking at you, kid, and they have a very different meaning. The phrase, here's looking at you, in the English-speaking world is a phrase for toasting while drinking. In reality, Rick here just praises Ilsa. That makes his character appear in a completely different light and is known not the only false cult quote in this classic movie.